Okay, so let's talk about saying hello in Chinese. I bet the first and maybe only phrase that comes to mind is ni hao, right? It's literally lesson one in every single textbook. But what if I told you that, well, that's kind of wrong? Today, we're going to get into how people in China really greet each other. And hey, don't just take my word for it. This is a direct quote from our source. The truth is, if you walk around just saying ni hao to everyone, you're going to sound a little stiff, kind of like a robot reading from a script. So if that's out, what's in? So here's the big secret. Real-world Chinese greetings are all about context. It is absolutely not a one-size-fits-all deal. The time of day, where you are, and most importantly, who you're talking to. All of these things totally change what you say. It's way more interesting and honestly, more personal than the textbook ever lets on. So let's start with the easiest one to get the hang of, greetings based on the time of day or what someone's up to. This is where you can start sounding like a local almost immediately. First thing in the morning, it's super simple. You can say the full "zao shang hao," which is just good morning. Or to be a bit more casual and friendly, you can just shorten it to "zao," like saying mornin'. And here's a pro tip. If you want to sound even more natural, you can add a little at the end, like "zawa." It just softens it up and makes it friendlier. Now, this is where it gets really clever. A lot of the time, a greeting is actually a question about what someone's doing. You see a coworker heading into the office. You might say, "Shangbana, going to work?" Or at the end of the day, "Shabanla, off work?" But, and this is super important, these aren't real questions. It's just a way of saying, "Hey, I see you." You don't need to give a long answer. Just a quick, "Yeah," and a smile is the perfect response. Okay, now for the most famous, the most iconic, the most classic greeting in China, it's one that tells you so much about the culture and the importance of caring for one another. Chilema? This is the big one. Literally, it means, have you eaten? But it's not actually about food. Think of it as a warm way of asking, how are you? Are you doing okay? It's rooted in a time when food was scarce, so asking if someone had eaten was a genuine sign of care. It's a fantastic conversation starter, but you've got to follow one very important rule. And here it is, the golden rule. You only, and I mean only, use this greeting around mealtimes. If you ask someone 吃了吗 at, say, 3:30 in the afternoon, they're not going to think, oh, they're saying hi. They're going to be genuinely confused, wondering why on earth you're asking if they've had a meal. So yeah, timing is everything with this one. All right, so we've covered time and activity. The next big piece of the puzzle is your relationship to the person. You just don't greet your best friend the same way you greet your boss, right? Well, Chinese has some great ways to navigate that. Okay, imagine you run into a friend you haven't seen in ages. This right here is your go-to combo. You hit them with a "Haoju butian," long time no see, and then you follow it up with "Suijin zamayang." So, how have you been lately? Putting them together just feels so warm and sincere. It immediately shows you're excited to see them and you actually want to catch up. And get this, sometimes you don't even need to say a word, especially with people you see all the time but aren't close with, like a colleague or a neighbor. A simple nod is the polite, safe, all-purpose gesture. It works for anyone. But the chin lift, that's a little different. It's more of a casual, silent sup that you'd use with people your own age. It's a tiny difference, but it's one of those subtle social cues that makes a big impact. Okay, let's look at a couple more specific scenarios, covering the super modern and the super formal. Both are totally part of the everyday greeting landscape in China. Now for a modern twist that might actually surprise you. It is super common for young people in China to greet each other in English. But there's a catch. They don't just say hello. They almost always double it up. Hello, hello. Why? Because saying it just once can sound a little blunt, almost like you're answering the phone. But doubling it, that instantly makes it feel warmer, more casual, and super friendly. Now let's flip to the other end of the spectrum, respect. This character on the screen, Nin, is a powerhouse of politeness. It's the formal version of you. You use this when you're talking to elders, your teachers, your boss, basically anyone you want to show a clear sign of respect to. It's a small change from the casual ni, but it carries a ton of cultural weight. And here's how you put that into action. Nin hao is your go-to formal hello, but you can get even more specific, which is even better. You see a teacher, you say 老师好.
hello teacher. To an older man you don't know, you'd say 叔叔好, which is like, hello uncle. And no, he doesn't have to be your actual uncle. These are just universal terms of respect for older people.
Okay, wow, that was a lot of information, I know. But don't worry, we can actually boil all of this down into a really simple, practical guide that you can use anytime you're in this situation. Let's just break it down into 4 easy steps. First, take a second to assess the situation. What time is it? Where are you? Second, think about your relationship. Is this your buddy or your professor? Third, pick the right tool from your new greeting toolkit, whether it's a sal, a chilama, or just a simple nod. And finally, and this is the most important part, just say it with confidence and a smile. So there you have it. There is this whole rich world of greetings in Chinese that goes way beyond ni hao. So I'm going to leave you with a little challenge straight from our source. Next time you meet a Chinese friend around lunchtime, instead of your usual hello, just try a friendly, warm chilama and see what happens. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at the conversation that follows.